Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. It is the Virtual Expo. I've been so excited for this for so long, ever since I think like last month. I don't know. It's just something about Monday nights and having fun and being able to hang out with all of you guys. And MJ, in case you didn't know, he like grew a goatee and he like went out in nature and got some glasses. Oh wait, no, that's not MJ. Bill Hermann is actually joining us for a little bit tonight, and so Bill is down there below. But tonight, John, explain to me the topic, because I kept getting this month and next month back and forth.
There is a little bit of a difference between the 2 months. This month, we are kind of talking about the planning and prep when it comes to weddings. And these are 2 back-to-back wedding type months of training. Every month we do a training night where we have TED Talks going on for about the first hour, and then we have our highlight headliner, that comes in at the end. Tonight's Jim Cerone is our headliner, and our kickoff person is Mr. Bill Hermann. That's why he's getting warmed up and ready to go. He's stretching. He's doing a little warm up lap around the place. As you know, he walks a lot, so he's got to get himself ready to go. But tonight we're talking about prep and planning, doing the things that you need to do before you get to the event. And it's going to have, we've got a lot of tips coming at you tonight. You're going to want to take some notes because we've got Bill starting us off. Then we've got Jason Rubio coming second. Then we've got Mike Lenstra. Mike's got a really kind of a cool little process he's going to be showing about how he kind of walks people through making choices and picking the different types of things they want to do for some multi-system companies. Then Ron Ruth will come up, Jason Jani, and then Jim Cerone at 9:20. So it will be a full night.
Awesome. So hopefully you guys are excited and you're ready to go. And if you don't have your paper, you've got like a minute to like keep us in tune and get ready. Actually, you probably have like 11 minutes because Bill Herman's going to be the first one. And I heard after like 3 minutes, he just gets fascinated by the people behind him. So you didn't see those people back there? They went streaking through your yard. We lost our PG rating because of that.
The backyard.
I'm not wearing any pants.
Well, that's what none of us do. That's why we love Zoom. So we got a great. But the show tonight is being broadcast out there, but for free. So if you've got a DJ in your kind of circle that didn't get to catch it, you can share that DJNTV.com/virtual expo link. That will get them to tonight's show for the next few weeks, until we get to our June show coming up the week ahead of our June show. Then we switch it again. The June show will be coming up June 28th. So typically we're the 3rd Monday. In June, we're going to the 4th Monday because there is a DJ show going on the 3rd Monday. The Marquee show is going on in Chicago. You can check that out at marqueeshow.com. So that'll be in June. And the June one is going to be more around the MC side of things. And that's going to be featuring Randy Bartlett as our anchor speaker for the night, and we'll have some great presentations talking about things around using the microphone and getting ready to be an MC at a wedding. So,
interesting. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a new thing. They just started it. You'll have to find out more about it. It's really kind of cool. It's really
be nice if they could do like a workshop. That would be
neat.
All about just like entertainment and the experiences you could have with it.
That would be a neat idea. We'll have to write that down and such.
It doesn't sound like it would work.
So tonight, just get one last plug and we'll get Bill up. Tonight's show is sponsored by the sponsors in the links down below in the description of the video. Go there, show them some love because they're the ones that make this happen. You're going to see them right below us. Those are the companies that support us. There's more companies out there that are actually, because of you guys being so passionate about supporting those who support us, we've got some other companies who are starting to come over and say, hey, how can we become part of it? So thank you guys for being so generous and such, and mentioning that, hey, I saw them supporting DJNTV. That means a lot when you're doing those things and sharing that. Also, the DJNTV Insiders are kind of our little membership area where people kind of help support the channel. Those are the folks who brought you tonight's show. So, Dan, I think it's time to introduce Bill, and then you and I will step off the cameras for a bit.
All right, so without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, starting us off tonight, Mr. Bill Hermann.
Oh my! I'm supposed to go now. Okay, fine. How you doing, guys? So yeah, we're talking about preparations for weddings, wedding prep. Very interesting. And I have my phone here because John said that I have 10 minutes, and I'm going to time this. And in 10 minutes, whether he's back or not, I'm going to get up and walk out of here. Uh, anyway, what I really wanted to talk about here to kick you guys all off, because you do have a lot of people talking about very specific things on how to get prepped for a wedding. And granted, you know, a lot of us already do that, right? I mean, if you have a checklist, you're prepping for a wedding. If you take the night before or even the day of and you go through all your stuff and you make sure it's all where it's supposed to be and you get it all nice and cleaned and you double check to make sure you have the music you have, and that's prepping for a wedding, right? All those things we have to do to be able to do our job, right? Because if you don't prep, then you're kind of just catching up. And all by itself, that basic principle, when you first start DJing, is not even something that you even consider. Really. Most of us, we started DJing and we got a bar job, right? We show up just before we got to get done and we turn on our stuff and we find our music and we play our favorite stuff until somebody makes a request or until somebody dances. And then all of a sudden we stick with that for a little while until that works. Not a lot of prep involved to be able to do that, except for maybe I bought some new music last week, right? Or I got a new speaker, or I got into the club early and I made sure that I was there and got punched in, right? So when you do your first wedding, you show up that way. I did. First few weddings, I showed up about exactly on the time that I was supposed to go, just early enough to set up so that at 8 o'clock I was up on, songs going, ready to rock, right? Preparation for that was, where's my stuff? How long of a drive is it to get to where I'm going, right? I hardly even reached out to the place to be sure that it was available, that the door was going to be open, that they knew I was coming. And even without that preparation, and the less preparation I did, the more mistakes happened. What I got good at, because I didn't prep, was being able to deal with problems as they arrived, being able to hide the mistakes, hide the fact I wasn't prepped, deal with things on the fly, because you have to be somewhat good at that to be able to deal with things on the fly. And as you get better at that, then that becomes really easy, right? But that only gets you it only puts you in a certain level with your clientele, right? I mean, your client expects that you show up with music and an amplifying system that you can play it loudly and a microphone in case somebody wants to say something. Maybe. They're not really expecting much. And when they're hiring you online or when they're just clicking a link on a website, most of those people think, well, they're just buying music for the night. So why would you prep? Well, the reason you would is because, first of all, it makes it a lot more interesting. And secondly, you become more interesting to what's happening. You become more valuable because you know more about what is actually happening. It's no longer just a wedding. Weddings go this way. There is a format, of course, for weddings. We all pretty much understand the formats of weddings. People show up and then they go inside and then they go have drinks and then they go sit down for dinner. And then there's a prayer before dinner, and then they have a dinner, and then they have some dessert, and then dad stands up and does a speech, and then around 8 o'clock they turn up the music and they turn down the lights and then they have a dance, and then midnight they go, hey, thanks for coming. There's their format, right? Format works. Format's been around forever. That's how a wedding reception goes. But what changes and what makes it special for people is not the format. What makes it special for people is the reason that they're there, right? They didn't really come for the format of a wedding, even though some people show up that way. What they're hoping for is they have some sort of an experience with the guests and with the bride and the groom so that they feel connected to them. They got invited because they care. They got invited because the people that they're doing this wedding with, care and love them, right? So why did they go? For the free chicken? For the drink? They got that without you being involved. Even if you start at 8 o'clock and do nothing but play music until some spark happens and people start dancing, there's not a whole lot that you're involved with. But the reason you would get prepped is because the more that you know about the people you're working with, the more valuable you become. The more that you know and the more that you're able to use that information within what you do, the more valuable you become to not only the client who's hired you, but the guests who are part of things. The more that the guests will follow you. If you ask them to dance, then they will, because you ask them to dance, right? Because, hey, this guy's cool and he knows these people. Okay, he knows what's going on. He's told me how I'm going to feel. And guess what? I feel that way. He's kept me informed with what's happening. And not only that, but he's kept me informed in a way that makes me care, because he seems to care about these people. Now that you can get if you just get a little bit more involved. I would suggest you get a lot more involved. And where it starts for me, and where it starts for me from the very beginning, before they've even hired me, it starts in that process. When I get a phone call, or when I get an email or a text or a DM and they would like to meet me, I start right away trying to learn more about these people, because these people are, the more I get to know them, the more I'm able to express those people on their behalf, because they wouldn't be hiring me to do what I'm doing if they could do it themselves, right? So here I am, once again, the more I know, the better, right? The old CBS thing, the more you know. Well, it is true. When you start with prepping with your clients before you even meet with them, when you get an email, do you look them up? Do you use their information they put in your email to find out where they live? To find out what area code they're in? Area code, usually, not always nowadays. If their area code is in Madison, Wisconsin, they may still be living in Los Angeles, right? But you could look that up. You have some information now, some information that can connect you before even a sale. Do you look for them on any of the social media platforms? Do you look for them on Facebook or on Instagram or on TikTok? Are you looking on LinkedIn? Are you learning something about them, their fiance, their families, about who they are and what they're doing? Before you even meet them, that preparation can help you even in the sales process. And it's not a sneaky, stalky way. I mean, I suppose when it first started, it seemed really stalky. I have Facebook. I got Facebook stock. Yeah, I suppose maybe you did. But nowadays, it's common practice for anybody. When you get a phone call from somebody you don't recognize, you take that area code and you look it up, right? Or you meet somebody at work and you heard their first and last name, so you look them up on Facebook before you go and talk to them. So this is a regular thing that people do. Now, I'm not saying because you need to figure out, what their favorite song is so that you play their favorite song during the sales process, even though it's not the dumbest idea in the world. But what it does is it helps to connect you, because now you start to see within just their social media and their names and the kind of questions you might ask just in the email form that they send you, something about them so that you feel like you can start a conversation, right? Walking up to somebody in a bar when you're dating, you've got nothing to go with except for, man, you're really pretty. Could I get your number? Right? Oh, or hey, I see you drink rum and coke. So do I. Right? That's at least some kind of a connection. And it's hard, but that we're always looking for that thing, right? So why wouldn't you make yourself feel more comfortable about that process so that when you sit down with them, you're actually talking to them? Instead of just sit down right away and say, okay, I don't really need to be here. Just look at my presentation on the laptop. This is what I talk about. Nice to meet you. By the way, what was your name again? Oh, that's right. And what was your date again? Yeah, knowing that information ahead of time, that preparation makes you already more professional. You are already showing up at the sales process in a more professional light because you've taken the time to care enough about these people to find out whether or not you might even be connected. Now, the next place it shows up within the preparation process is in the meeting. Now, I believe that it is best to have a face-to-face meeting in your preparation process. And sales, for me, is a preparation process, right? I don't want to have an email chain. And it doesn't work well for me to have an email chain. And because it doesn't work well for me, it's not going to work well for them. So I make sure right away that they understand that us getting together to get to know each other is most important because it's better for them, not necessarily for me. But it does definitely help to be able to have a face-to-face. Now, you can do this on the phone, sure. You can do this on Zoom, okay? I prefer Zoom over the phone. I prefer face-to-face in the same room over Zoom. But what you do get with Zoom and face-to-face is you get to see their face. When you're talking and they're talking to you, there are social cues and cues that they will have about how they feel about what they do as it goes. Now, this is really, really important. And this process helps you to be more connected so that during the process, you can now start to talk to them more. Okay? Because the more you talk to them, the more prep you can do. The more prep you can do, the more important it becomes that they care, right? And that they know you care. Because that makes you valuable. Showing up with music, turn it up, is only so valuable. But showing up with knowledge of who they are, why it matters, and all that stuff, you are now prepared to come in and do something amazing. You're not just doing a checklist of here's my gear and I'm showing up. Now, that's just one small piece. I just took you from, and I could have spent a lot more time just in the sales part of it, okay? Now, the reason for preparation, the reason for this kind of preparation is to connect you in a way that makes your clients care unbelievable about you. You want them to care about you. You need to care about them, though. And you can't care about them looking at your hand and trying to remember their name, right? Being able to say a person's name, knowing something about them and where they live, that preparation connects you. Once you become connected, it is very difficult for them to say, we are not going to give you our wedding. They're going to give away something very valuable. They want to feel as though they're connected to you. And you can't connect if you're not willing to do the work. Anyway, that's my small little take. And all these guys are going to give you lots more as you go today. And I, as you can tell, I can go blah, 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 blah. But I'm really just introducing the evening. And I know you're going to get a lot of great stuff out of every one of these people. I know all of these men that are going to speak today personally, including my very close friend, Jim Cerone, who is, of course, if you don't already know, known as the perfect host. And you want to talk about preparation, you really need to stay here for the rest of today, all day, because you're going to love what Jim does, and you're going to love how this kind of builds on and builds on and builds on. Take lots of notes, like they said, because by the end of the day, you're going to be really pleased that you've taken some time to be a part of this. Now, as you can see, I got dressed up just for you.
You did. We're waiting for you to...
I was waiting, John, for you to jump back on.
I'm waiting for you to walk off. You said you were going to walk away in 10 minutes. So I'm waiting for that to get there. You know.
Oh, that's right. I suppose I could go like this.
There we go. There we go. So now we know it's over.
I kept the time. John was just the only thing John was worried about the entire time. Bill, and we only have 10 minutes.
Yeah, we do.
But Bill, we only have 10 minutes.
So.
Yeah, but Bill,
we got to jump to the next one. But entertainment experience, we talked about. Dan brought it up a little bit. Give us a little bit of an elevator speech, what that is, and where people can go for more information.
Well, you can DM me on Facebook or just Google me. You go to entertainment-experience.com. You can learn something about it. The next workshop is going to be live. Okay, and I do have that. I just want to bring up the dates here. It's the week before Thanksgiving in November. It's not Thanksgiving itself. I'm just bringing up my thing here. But Thanksgiving being, I believe, on the 28th this year. Is that right?
I think it is late. Yeah.
November 25th. So so it'll be the 15th and 16th and the 17th. That's if you do 2 workshops in the 3 days. Now we've been doing them online, and they've been really great. We are now going to we're now going to continue starting to do the live thing, and we're going to do it here in Minneapolis. And if everything goes well and the creek don't rise, we'll be doing it at the Electro Voice headquarters. But they're not necessarily open yet as is. It is going to happen. It was, and I've opened up ticket sales for it right now. The way that you do it, though, is you don't just go to the website and buy. You go to the website if you want to. Don't talk to anybody. You want to learn a little bit. You can certainly ask out online on any of the Facebook groups. There's lots of people who've taken it, and they'll tell you whatever you want to know. You'd rather hear it from them than me. But before you can take the workshop, you and I have to have a conversation like this. Because at the end of our little conversation, I'll know whether or not this is valuable enough for you or not. I only take 16, 17 guys in every workshop. That's it. And I want to be sure that this is not going to be a waste of your time and your money. But if, in fact, we decide that this is a good thing, I'll make it available to you. If you don't do it, there's lots of people that are going to want to do it. That's why I want to keep it available. But if you want to know more, Facebook, DM me. If you Google me, my cell phone number is out there. It's not that tough to find me. Okay, so just reach out, and I'll be putting things out there on the Facebook and telling people. But the workshop itself, it's 2 days. Monday, 8 in the morning till 5:30 at night. Monday, Tuesday. And then the third day is a bonus workshop. If you say for the third day, it's called the Art of the Audio Edit. And with a little bit of time that we have here, I wouldn't be able to get real detailed about it, but I do know that if we talk, I'll answer everything. I will not hold anything back.
Excellent.
Everybody thinks, well, if he doesn't pay Bill, he won't tell him anything. No, I'll answer any question you want. You can learn anything you want to know. There's nothing that I can tell you on the phone that won't be valuable, but it's not also going to take away from the experience of being in the workshop if you want to be a part of it. So
yep.
I don't know if I kept myself short enough. And like you said,
Excellent.
I didn't stay on time once again. Thanks a lot, John.
That's great. All right, my friend. Thank you much for being on. Dan, who do we have up next?
Oh, of course, you would ask me that when I closed my window that had everything loaded. Oh, give me one moment here. I will say this. I had the pleasure of having the conversation with Bill, talking about the entertainment experience, and he exactly as he said. And if you're paying attention to what he was talking about, he does the conversation very similar to what he would do with his couples. Obviously, with the exception is we're all over the country, so he's going to do it in person, or he's going to do it over the phone or Zoom. But I was thoroughly impressed, and the only thing that bit me was the time. So, or the time of year and we were looking at a 4-1. You weren't doing Minneapolis for that one, I guess. But anyway.
Oh, well, hey, come on over, Dan. I'll call me after this is done, brother. I'll get you a seat, brother.
There we go. So up next, we've got Jason Rubio. I have no idea what he's talking about. He's just the next name that I see on our list.
Yep, he's got wedding DJ tips for success is what Jason's coming to us with.
All right, welcome. My name is Jason Alexander Rubio, and I am here to talk about wedding DJ tips for success. We are happy to be here. I say we. It's a company, Austin's Best DJs and Photo Booths. I'm the co-owner and founder. My wife and I founded the business back in fall of 2012, and she's around here somewhere, but she doesn't like being on camera. So I want to talk about wedding DJ tips for success, and that's the focus of this month's virtual training. And so a little bit about me. I've been a wedding DJ for a little while, again, 2012, fall of 2012 till now. We've been doing it. Clearly 2020 was a little weird, but we still had weddings and events. Not a ton, but definitely more than I thought. But I've been DJing since I was young. Since I was 13 years old, I learned and developed my craft over the years, right? And I've done bars, I've done clubs, I've done some radio gigs, I've done, you name it, concerts, festivals. I've even thrown my own concerts, still doing festivals. I actually am going to start another one soon. It's just a passion of mine. I've been doing it a long time. And so another passion of mine is events, private events. I've gradually moved into that. And I decided, this is great. I love doing it. I don't DJ as much. This was me about 2 years ago. I don't DJ as much anymore. I kind of took a hands-off approach these last couple of years, especially with COVID. And I started to do more managing, and that's where I am now. I might do an event here and there, but for the most part, 99% of the events I don't do anymore. I'll help with the other rental side of it. We do photo booths, large marquee letters, and other things. I'll do that all day, but DJing, not as much, right? I just want to make sure to invest the time into training our people right. And I'm going to share with you the tips that I use for my own DJ team, right? We've got a team of about 10 DJs, 2 photo booth staff, looking for more staff, definitely, always, right? I actually just hired a guy the other day and looking for more. So let's jump right into it. All right, so first things first, figure out, are weddings for you? Do you like weddings? Have you gone to weddings lately? What are they like now? You know, if you haven't been to a wedding in a while, you should go before you jump into the wedding DJ industry, because they're different, right? It's no longer just show up, play whatever request they have, they'll have a great time. Sure, you can do that. You can wing it and do that and probably do okay. But if you want to do better than okay, you've got to be prepared. All right. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But understand, how do you feel about weddings? If you like them, don't like them, that's first and foremost. If you don't even like weddings, don't do them. All right. The money is amazing. The money is better than other events, but they're tough. There's a lot of pressure to perform well and be perfect at every single event. Every single event, our name is on the line, right? Because clients are quick to leave you a bad review if you don't do a good job. So every single event, I got to make sure our DJs are on point. All right. And so if you don't really care for weddings, don't do them until you do think, oh yeah, that's what I can do. Understand that a DJ who does weddings is different than a wedding DJ, right? If you're a bar DJ and someone says, hey, I'm having a wedding in like October of next year, you think you could do it? And you only do bars? Probably, yeah, you could, but you better figure out, what do they expect from you? What do they want from you? Do they want that same bar vibe there? I've had some people that hired me when I was doing bars, and they're like, we want whatever you're doing here, there at the wedding. No problem, right? But that's not always the case. And so you have to understand, you know, just because you're a DJ doesn't mean you're a great wedding DJ, right? Just because you're a wedding DJ doesn't mean you're a great bar DJ. They're two very different things. They're night and day. Weddings require a lot of preparation, all right? So number 3, what truly makes a successful wedding DJ? And like I just said, preparation, communication. Those are my 2 most important things. Let's move on to that. So top 3 tips for success. Number 1, preparation again. Be prepared. What does that mean? From the moment that they contact you, you've got to be prepared. You got to know what to ask. You got to know what to say. You got to know what they're looking for and what they're not looking for. All right. So ask the right questions. That's going to help you be prepared. That's from the very beginning email, right? And then if you actually book the wedding, you know, you've got a few months to prepare. Usually they book us 6 months to a year out. We don't do more than a year, just to be fair, because otherwise we get booked up for years and we don't want to do that. So we only do 12 months in advance. And so, you know, a few months out, check in with them, you know, and be like, hey, how's it going? This is your wedding DJ. And just wanted to see how things are going. How's the planning going, right? Be helpful. If you've got some great tips that you can help them with planning, send them to them, right? If you got some stuff on your website, we do. Send them the links and say, hey, this might help you out. You know, if you're looking for a seating charge, or if you're looking for whatever it is that they may be looking for, and you know what they need, send them those tips, right? Be helpful. Communicate with them. About a month out, we meet with our clients, every single one of them, right? So if we're doing a wedding, you know, and it's a month out, I have a reminder that says, send them an email, send them a check-in email, and we check in with them, right? 4 weeks out. That's a long time before the wedding, but it isn't, right? Because most of the time you send them some documents and say, hey, I need you to fill these things out. By the time we meet with their check-in, guess what? When you send them that check-in meeting, they haven't even looked at the documents almost all the time. And so that's when they're like, oh, okay, yeah. So schedule the meeting for the week after and say, hey, you know, let's meet next week. Please have these forms filled out and we'll discuss things and make sure that we're prepared so that you know what's going on and we know what's going on, right? Communication is the key. That helps you be prepared, having that meeting. Check in with them, whether it's in person or online. We do online now. We've been doing online for a while, though, well before the pandemic, about 2 years, even before the pandemic, just because Austin traffic is terrible. And so we're like, let's save some time. Let's meet online. And so communication, again, be prompt, fast, and friendly. So make sure that you're responding as quickly as possible. Number 1, before they even book you, that's going to show them how good you are at customer service. That's going to show them how much you really care about doing their wedding. If you don't respond to them for hours or even days, they're going to be like, man, this guy doesn't want to book us, man. He can't even email us back. We're going to find someone else. And understand there's competition in every market, big or small, there's competition. And so if you're being slow to respond or not doing what they need you to do, they will find someone else really, really quickly. There's a lot of DJs here in the Austin area. There's well over 200 companies, and easily, if I had to guess, probably 500 or more solo DJs who also happen to do weddings. It's a lot of competition. So by the time they email you and ask you for a quote, be happy. They've narrowed down from a field of thousands of people to you. And so your job is to be prompt, fast, and friendly. All right. Respond to them as quickly as possible. A lot of studies show the quicker you respond, the more likely you are to get the gig. All right. So I make it a point to respond as fast as I can, right? It may not always be within the hour, but definitely within a few hours. I respond no more than 24 hours. And if I know I'm busy, I might even respond and say, hey, we're at an event right now, but I will get back to you. Thank you so much for emailing, whatever. Be responsive. That's what they want, right? Today's couples are young. They've grown up with the internet. They want immediate. They want right now. They don't want to be put off, right? Again, they're about to spend thousands of dollars with you. Why would you not understand that and say, man, I better provide some amazing customer service? That's what it is all about, right? Being a great wedding DJ or having a wedding DJ company is about customer service more so than anything else, more so than mixing, more so than your equipment, whatever it is, customer service, number one. If you want to be a great DJ, wedding DJ, customer service. All right. And the last one is develop a rapport. That's part of customer service. Talk to them. Don't just ask questions. When's the event? What day? What time? Where? Okay, here's the quote. Talk to them. Get to know them. Develop a rapport. Make them comfortable with you and your company and what you're offering. Get to know what it is that they need, what they want, what they don't want. Ask good questions, but let them respond. All right. Assume that they're in front of you. Pretend like they're right in front of you. You'd have a conversation. How would that conversation go? Would you ask 5 questions in a row before they can respond? No. 1 question, 1 answer. Maybe 2 questions if you want. No more than 2. All right. Hey, can you tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for? Right? What kind of music are you looking for? That's it. End with a question that they need to respond to. You wonder, why am I getting ghosted? It's because you're not asking the right questions. If they say, hey, Jason, how much do you charge for blah, blah, blah? 6 hours, here are the details. And you got nothing to ask. And so you just give them the price. They've got what they needed from you. You haven't sold them on who you are and what you do and why you're the best choice. And you just say, oh, it's going to be $1,500 or $1,200, whatever it is you charge. And then they're like, okay, thanks. They have no clue why you're better. And so they just check off Austin's best DJs, $1,200. On to the next. Email the next guy. Do the same thing. All right. A lot of DJs make the mistake of just, here you go. And then they don't follow up. And they're like, I never heard back from them. Guess they found someone else. Guess they booked that cheaper guy. I know they did because it's my prices. Not always. Respond, prompt, fast, friendly, develop that rapport, follow up. All right. I was guilty of this. I didn't used to follow up that much. I'd follow up, give them what they needed and then wait. Don't ghost them. You're ghosting them if you don't follow up. So follow up. All right. I know I don't want to be annoying. I don't want to be a salesman, saleswoman, whatever it is. Right. But follow up. You'd be surprised. I booked a few events every single year by just following up a couple of more times. They're like, oh yeah, sorry, man. We were busy. We went to blah, blah, blah. We were traveling. Yes, I do want to book. It's amazing. Follow up, right? Because if you don't, somebody else will. And again, that's taking money that you could have earned. So follow up. All right. I'm almost out of time. Just wanted to do a couple of more tips here. So number 1, decide what your ultimate goal is at every event. What is that? Is it to get through all of their songs that they sent you? Is it to make sure that the bride and groom are happy, or the bride and bride, or the groom and groom, or whatever? Or, if you're doing a quinceañera, the birthday girl is happy. What is your ultimate goal? Decide that. All right. You've got to figure that out. All right. Who's the boss at your events? Right? Is it the planner, the coordinator, the mom, the dad, the bride, the whoever, the guest of honor? Who's the boss of you? right? Because you'll find at weddings, there's a lot of people who are like, hey, do this. Hey, I'm the bride's cousin. I'm the bride's whatever. I'm the groom's whatever, best friend. You've got to do this. Play this song right now. He told me to come tell you. All right, be careful. There's a lot of people who are asking you what to do. They've been drinking. Keep in mind, there's usually open bars. That may not be true. Don't fall into that trap. So understand who's your point of contact, whether it's the planner or coordinator. Hopefully you have one. If you don't, your job's a lot harder. Check in with that person and make sure that all communication goes through that person. All right, because it will make your life a lot easier. Last couple of things. What do clients really want in a DJ? What do they want in you? You're the DJ. What do they want out of you? You know, do they want that club vibe? Do they want it to be crazy like a club? You know, they want the whole club set up with all the lights, or do they want a nice, elegant feel? Not so much of the crazy laser lights, just, you know, I want this, right? And find out what they're going for. All right, we do that. We'll ask, what vibe do you want? What are you looking for? And give that to them. Deliver the experience that they want. All right, last one is, it's a very debated topic. Is mixing 100% necessary? Beat mixing, right? Most DJs are like, you're not a DJ if you don't mix. I personally believe that, yes, you should mix. Do you have to mix 100% of the time at the event? No. You know, I don't mix, obviously, for ceremony, pre-ceremony music, cocktail hour, dinner. I'm not mixing. Some DJs do. I don't. I have their playlist that they want, and I make sure I play what they want. But come, you know, the dance, when it starts, then I'm mixing back to back the entire time. And I'm keeping up with what they want, and I'm making sure reading the room and whatever else, right? That's what a good DJ should do. There are DJs out there who don't mix at all, ever, and play whole songs. If that's what the client wants, great, give it to them. Sometimes the client will want that. But most of the time, they'll ask us flat out, do you mix? Do you just play whole songs? Is there going to be like dead air in between songs, right? And so if they're asking you that and you can't mix and you can't deliver, be honest with them. All right. We want our guys to mix. That's absolutely necessary. I mean, otherwise they could just play a playlist. Why do they need you if they're just going to play whole songs? So that's my opinion on it. I know I probably differ from a lot of different DJs. All right. So I'm just about out of time. I'm a little bit over. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you, John, and the DJNTV team, the Disc Jockey News team, for having me. Again, my name is Jason. I'm with Austin's Best DJs and Photo Booths. Thank you so much. I look forward to the next training. See you next time.
Here we are.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that, Jason. One of those things, John and I start comparing notes, and before we know it, all of a sudden they end. It's like, oh, wait, there it is. So thank you very much for that. You know what? We're going to jump right into the next one. Without further ado, just a little bit behind here, so we want to try and catch up. Up next is Mike Lenstra, and he's got The Choice Is Yours. It's going to be tips about working with couples to customize their day.
Thank you for being here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit tonight about customizing your wedding receptions. Given your couple's choices to truly make their wedding a unique experience to them. If there is one pet peeve I have in the wedding industry, it is photographers, banquet managers, wedding planners, even DJs that seem to have one template that they always want to follow. I think there was a term a few years back called McWeddings, that the feeling was, if you're doing 20 or 30, 40 weddings a year, but you are doing them all the same, you're actually doing one wedding, but putting it on repeat 20 or 30 or 40 times. So let's talk about some different choices that you could give your couples to, again, create the wedding that maybe they want. Let me see if I can share my screen here with you and we can get into this. Okay, that's what I want. All right, here we go. The choice is yours. And when I mean yours, I mean your couples. This is maybe a conversation that you want to begin having with those couples when you sit down and talk with them. What options do they have to create their wedding? Now, I'm going to use this just as a generic sample here, timeline. This is probably what we follow most often here in the upper Midwest. And I'm aware that every geographical area of the country has different way that they do things. But for this presentation, let me just use this sample timeline. Now, here in our locale, weddings typically run around 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. 5 to 6 is cocktail hours. Then at 6 p.m., we are seated for dinner. Around 6:15, we may introduce the wedding party. Our photographers take them over to the cake, get a few pictures there, maybe that ceremonial first cake cutting. When everyone is seated, we may have the parents do a welcome, or maybe there's someone there that will do a blessing, and then dinner is served. As dinner is wrapping up, we may turn the microphone over to our best man, maid of honor, maybe a few others, for a few words of wisdom before the bride and groom say their thanks. We then invite our guests to make their way to the dessert bar if they wish. Tables are cleared, and we are ready to begin our first dances. After that, we get into some dancing. Somewhere in there before the photographer leaves, we squeeze in the garter bouquet toss, the anniversary dance, the shoe game, just depending on what our couples have selected. And from that point on, it's dance, dance, dance until the lights come on at about 11 p.m. But let's see how we can maybe mix that up a little bit here. Let's talk about the introductions of our wedding party. Now, this is a pretty standard, pretty generic way that we may be introducing our wedding party. First up, we have Stephanie Jones with Rob Smith. Next up, it's Angela and Josh Drummond. And now we have and down the line. But what if we did something like this? She's a former roommate of the bride. He's been friends of the groom since the 3rd grade. They are Stephanie Jones with Rob Smith. Next up, we have, well, they're a married couple themselves, Angela and Josh Drummond. And again, down the line with the rest of the wedding party members. So now, not only are we letting this or the guests know what the couple's names are, but how they fit into this bride and groom's wedding party. Or we could do something as simple as this. After dinner, we could hand the microphone over to the couple and let them introduce their own wedding party. I'm sure they have a little bit more unique one-liner or story to tell about each and every one of them. Now let's look at introducing the newlyweds themselves. Again, this is pretty standard. Please welcome the new Mr. and Mrs. Allen, Lauren and Tyler. But what if we did something like this? Our bride grew up right down the road from here in Mayberry, our groom from the big city just north of us. It was their quest for higher education that took them to State College. There they met, began dating, and it was on a trip to the mountains of Colorado where Tyler got down on one knee to ask that most famous question. And now we're all here to help celebrate the start of the next journey of their lives. Would you all please stand and help me welcome the newest members to the marriage club, Lauren and Tyler. Tell their story a little bit. What about the first dances? Again, using the upper Midwest template here, first dances are most often done after dinner. And I know in other geographical areas of the party, we'll see that first dance done right after wedding party introductions, and then the cake is moved to a little bit later in the evening. What also, if we did something like this, if we took the toast and placed them right after the first dances while we have everyone's attention? Or something like this. Again, using our sample template, dances are right after dinner. But what? Instead, if we started off with that first dance, we started off with the mother-son dance. Then did the father-daughter dance. Then the first dance, thus making it a bit more of a build-up to that moment. Or maybe we could do this. Instead of us asking the groom to come on out and bring his mother, we could do something like, well, I think it's time to kick this party off. And to do that, once again, we would like to turn our microphone over to our groom, Tyler, and we would give Tyler the microphone and let Tyler invite his mom out. Now, it's said that weddings are more about moments than music, and this is a perfect opportunity to create one of those moments. The garter and the bouquet toss. Now, I know this has gotten to be kind of a disappearing tradition, almost like the chicken dance, and I understand why. It's pretty same and it's pretty lame. But we have had some different things happen with the garter and the bouquet toss recently. For instance, the garter toss, we have seen some of our grooms, instead of sticking the head up the dress, and you know that tradition, they've actually taken that garter and either placed it on a football or kind of got it into a wiffle ball and hiked it out to the guys, or used a plastic bat to smack it out to the guys. We've had a groom that has used a kid's bow and arrow. We even had a groom that used a fishing pole, put a clothesline on the end of it, and he cast it out to all of his guys. And the bouquet toss. Now this I have to give Greg Lauder from Affairs to Remember a shout out for. I was having a conversation with Greg, and we began talking a little bit about the garter and the bouquet toss and how they're disappearing. And he told me a story of a bride that he had that said, you know, she would really like to give her bouquet to someone, but she didn't want to do that traditional make all the single gals come out and fight for it or whatever. And so they kicked around some ideas. And what they came up with was Greg asked the bride to come on out with her bouquet. And once she got out there, he said, single ladies, you have the night off. But how many husbands do we have here? When is the last time you took flowers home to your wife? Now's your chance. And he had all the married guys come to the dance floor. And I have to tell you, I've actually done this a couple times here in 2021. And you want to talk about creating a moment. It works wonderfully. Again, choices. How can you mix up the order of events? How can you spice up the introductions? What about the order of the dances? How creative can you get with the garter and the bouquet toss? And at the end, how are you ending your weddings? Are you using the same songs, whether that be a sing-along with like Piano Man or The Time of My Life, or maybe it is a couple of fast songs like Bye 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 from NSYNC or Marry You by Bruno Mars. Or maybe you could just end things with an encore rendition of the bride and groom's wedding song. These are all choices that you could give your couples to truly make their wedding unique. Thank you for being here. I hope I've given you
Here we go.
Well, thank you, Mike, and thank you very much for that. A lot of great tips there on just making the choice yours and really making the couple's day customized. We're going to roll right in now to Ron Ruth. Ron is obsessed over the details. It's all part of his How to Speak Fluent WOW series, and you're in for a real treat with Ron.
So here's an important question. Are you and your business truly prepared to attract the high-spending, loyal, raving customers you want most? See, we're in the midst of a business homecoming where your customers are excited to reunite with you at the big dance and spend their money on your products and services. But they've also become a bit spoiled over the past 12 months or so with online shopping, curbside pickup, DoorDash, Uber Eats, next day delivery, same day delivery, and other conveniences that have made the shopping and buying experience easier and more enjoyable for all of them, which all means your customers' expectations are far higher now than they've ever been before. And that's not going to change in a post-COVID world. You can have the best products and services on the planet, and you can be the absolute best at what you do. But if your customers don't feel the experience of doing business with you is easily accessible, accommodating, accountable, and appreciative, in other words, if they don't feel the wow of doing business with you, you'll be left without a date to the homecoming dance. I want to share an important number with you. Go ahead and take a look at that number for a moment. See, a recent study by the Gartner Group, an international customer experience design firm, found that 89% of companies say they now compete primarily on the basis of customer experience. 89% of businesses now say they compete primarily on the basis of customer experience. That number is huge. That makes customer experience a brand within itself. It also makes the relationship you have with your customers more important than the product or service you sell. In other words, people are investing more in you than in your stuff. What you sell is only a prop to engage your customers. That's why learning to be fluent and speaking your customer's language of wow is so vital. See, the good news is that wow is a universal language that is easily translated into your business by following these 3 simple steps. Step 1, wrap customers in care. Step 2, obsess over details. And step 3, walk your why. Today, however, we're going to focus solely on the second step of speaking fluent wow, obsess over details. Organizations known for exceeding expectations focus on details everyone else overlooks by evaluating the experience from their customer's point of view. They walk in their customer's shoes through each and every touch point from first contact forward in search of ways to make their business more easily accessible, more warmly accommodating, more instantly accountable, and more genuinely appreciative, and more must-have appealing to the customers they want most. Along that journey, they also remove the flashpoints that can detract from the experience. During my 30 years as a wedding DJ, I helped couples design and create unforgettably fun wedding celebrations, which involved a lot of detail work. That also meant that my initial planning consult with my couples could last anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. But I also knew that most of them would come to me directly from work and most likely wouldn't stop to grab something to eat along the way. So rather than having them sit across from me thinking about how hungry they are instead of focusing on the task at hand, or worse yet, getting hangry, I reached out to them in advance to find out their favorite pizza topping, and then I would have pizza delivered when they arrived. So for the first 15, 20 minutes of our meeting, they were able to unwind from work as we enjoy a couple of slices of pizza. That simple gesture not only eliminated a flashpoint, my couples really appreciated that I had their best interests at heart. You see, little gestures of care strengthen the relationship you have with your couples, and they'll be more likely to trust you and allow you to do your best work. As it was with pizza, the gesture of care doesn't need to be epic or cost a ton of money. Here's the best part. If the customer experiences a benefit, even the smallest, kindest gesture can increase revenue dramatically. Another way of eliminating flashpoints and to obsess over details is to manage expectations. See, before my couples ever hired me, I gave them my wedding celebration design checklist that spelled out how many meetings we would have, how much time to allot for each meeting, and what we would discuss each time we got together. Now, I had 3 reasons for doing that. The first was so they knew what to expect when hiring me. See, I'm high maintenance, and my time investment in a wedding is 40 to 60 hours. Second, I wanted them to be better prepared for our design consult with all of their homework complete. And third, because it eliminated the potential flashpoints created by the when are we's. The when are we's impact every wedding pro and other service provider at some point with customers. When are we going to talk about planning? When are we going to talk about the music? When are we going to talk about the ceremony? When are we going to talk about this? When are we going to talk about that? See, the more when are we's you can eliminate up front, the more relaxed and confident your customers will be. So yes, delivering wow level experiences has a lot to do with being proactive in serving your customers so that flashpoints are less likely to pop up. So here's an important question. On average, and I'm talking about pre-COVID, hopefully very soon post-COVID, on average, how far in advance of their wedding do your couples book you? Typically, it can be anywhere from 6 to 24 months in advance. How many times, however, do you reach out to them between the time they contract you and the time that you sit down with them to really focus on their event? Or is it all this time here, nothing but dead air? See, why not reach out to your customers at least a couple of times from the time they book you to the time of their event, just to check in? How you doing? I know wedding planning can be a challenge. How can I be of service to make it easier for you today? See, this is a time to be empathetic, to listen, to be helpful, to be human, but not to upsell. Many of you consider yourselves to be experts at what you do. Demonstrate that expertise by sharing an article or information they might find of value. It could be something you've written, or maybe you found it somewhere else. See, it's the little things that you do that strengthens the relationship you have with your couples, proving that you value them as far more than just a transaction, and that you care about their wedding just as much as they do. Besides, every time a customer is forced to reach out to you with a potential problem, or when are we, it chips away at the relationship you've tried to build. They may answer your proactive emails with, well, you know what, there's really nothing you can do for me today, but rest assured, they'll remember tomorrow that you were considerate enough to ask, and they'll tell others just how much you cared. And remember, even the smallest kind gesture can produce big rewards. To obsess over details also means to obsess over self-improvement. Lots of you get 5-star reviews. Who hasn't won the Couples Choice Award? The challenge for you is to not let these awards and reviews allow you to get stuck in the status quo, where you mistakenly believe you're doing the best you can ever do. Here's a non sequitur for you. Think of your favorite Pixar movie. Is it Cars, or Toy Story, Finding Nemo, Monsters, Inc., or is it another Pixar movie? Now, did you know that Pixar Animation has won 16 Academy Awards? 16 Academy Awards. And even so, their entire team, regardless of their position within the company, is required to take 4 hours of ongoing training per week, every week. See, Pixar believes that everybody has unlimited creative potential, and the more their team exercises their brain and their thought processes and learns new things, even if they're unrelated to animation, the better they'll be at what they do, so they can win even more Oscars. I'm going to share 8 words with you that will change your life forever. Get ready to write these down. I'll give you a second. Go ahead, get ready to write these down, because these 8 words are extremely important. Nothing is so good it can't be improved. Nothing is so good it can't be improved. Winning an Oscar in the wedding industry would be like elevating the 5-star review system to a 20-star review. What would you do differently right now, today, if that were suddenly to happen? How would you elevate your game when it comes to the delivery of wow customer experiences? What added training would you take? What additional time would you spend with each customer? In what ways would you try to delight the customer more often? How would you make your business more easily accessible, more warmly accommodating, more instantly accountable, more genuinely appreciative, and more must-have appealing to the customers you want most? See, commit to the truth that absolutely nothing is so good that it can't be improved, including you, or face the threat of becoming obsolete. See, fill this gap right here. Fill this gap, and you'll never compete on price again, ever. Your business is unique in the opportunities it has to elevate your business from here to here, to the delivery of extraordinarily personalized experiences that will attract the high-spending, loyal, raving customers you really want most. And I'd be happy to explore those opportunities with you personally during a complimentary customer experience design consult. Just visit my website at ronruth.com/schedule and pick a time that is convenient for you. In the meantime, I thank you for your time and wish you continued success.
And once again, that was Ron Ruth and obsessing over the details. I'm telling you, I could listen to that guy all day long. I really could. Although I was disappointed about one thing. I don't think I saw any Disney stuff in the background anymore.
Oh, now I got to check because usually there is. There's. I don't think. I don't think there is. There used to be the. Yeah.
There's pictures, but he used to have like a Mickey statue back
I think
there.
there's a Mickey. There might be Mickey ears over on the right, but it's down in it's not out like it used to be, where it was
hide it.
like it was front and center, like that.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy. One cool thing that I really like that Ron talked about a little bit is being proactive section of the thing is where this is an area that sometimes I think as DJs we get so excited, we work so hard to get the booking. We have communication and we have those 7 touches that we do beforehand. And then once we get the booking and the contract signed and the cash and then we do the thank you, hey, you're out, you're good. And then we just kind of forget about them. And Ron had made that not using that time between booking and planning as an upsell time, but just a time to reach out a couple of times. And as I was thinking about that, there were times over the years where I've had shows and I've worked with couples that if I would have been more proactive and talking to them along the way, I would have headed off some red flags or some problems. Whether it was a couple that broke up 9 months ago and I didn't know about it and they never talked to me. That happened. But there were times where there were couples who were just musically just all of a sudden, what their expectations were. It's something that I could not, and really no one could do, but they had started to build this vision that was just unattainable.
I think that's one of the things a lot of people just struggle with is the idea of how do I reach out? I don't want to be a problem. Like they have busy lives. They have a lot of things going on. They're planning a wedding in their normal lives. And I feel like if I'm reaching out, I'm intrusive, but that couldn't be further from the truth because it's a quick email. You're not going on for a paragraph. You're just reaching out and saying, hey, just want to touch base with you. How can I help? And showing, it kind of ties to what Bill Hermann was saying in the very beginning, the idea of caring about your clients. If you make that effort and you show that they care, oh my gosh, you're winning them over before you even set up your equipment the first time for them. And so you get a chance to really kind of make that connection even better. And, chances are probably 75% of the time, if not higher, they're probably going to say, nope, we're good. Thank you very much. We'll talk soon. And again, as long as you don't make it about you and make it about them, it's going to be met with good feelings.
I definitely think so. Yeah. But that the tendency though, because we're business people and many times these communications would be happening during the cold season up here in Minnesota, that upsell, that party was there. You was like, oh, hey, I've got this new photo, this photo printing thing that'll print it right on your forehead and it'll only cost this and, put $100 down on it. And yeah, I can see where that tendency and it's too appealing or to a point sometimes. So, all right, Jason Jani is up next. For those of you who don't know who Jason Jani is, well, first off, get off from under the rock.
Really?
Jason is a great resource in our industry. He's a very talented business person, DJ, entertainer, branding personality. He's just very, very multifaceted. And what's really kind of cool about it, in all of our sessions that we're going to be doing in 2021, Jason is going to be doing basically, he's like the third runner in the relay, handing it off to our our anchor person. So Jason said he wants to be involved with the shows, and he puts together great content. So Dan, I think let's just jump right to Jason Jani giving us some tips for wedding DJs. Here we go.
What's up, everyone? It is Jason Jani. Welcome back to the channel. Whether you're watching this on the DJN YouTube channel or my personal YouTube channel, we are all grateful that you're here and checking out this content. In today's video, I want to share with you 5 fresh tips of things that you can do to help create an incredible planning experience for people that you could be working for in the future, in turn making your weddings better, making your events better, and just making you better all the way around. Now, planning, especially in the wedding entertainment universe, is one of the most important parts of being a DJ, spending the time and investing the time getting to know the people that you're working for and working with them to curate an incredible experience is really what it's all about. And everyone does planning differently. These tips are not in any particular order, and they can be applied to weddings everywhere, no matter who you are, where you are, and the level of production entertainment you bring to the table for the people that are trusting you with the wedding reception experience that you will be DJing. First and foremost, I want to start off talking about pronunciations. It is super important that when you are spending time in the planning process that you clearly understand who you are working for and how to properly say their names. Work on phonetic spelling. Practice it if you need to, but having the pronunciations down pat is something that will look good on you when you're hosting or DJing at someone's wedding. There's nothing more upsetting than someone saying something like Jason Jani or Jason Jani when the proper pronunciation of my last name is Jani. And if you are part of someone's incredible celebration, arguably the most expensive event they're ever going to have for themselves in their lives, you better get their name right. It doesn't end there. Make sure that you have yourself covered from A to Z and make sure that you understand anyone that you are going to be acknowledging or announcing into the room. Make sure you take the time and understand how to properly say their names because it'll look good on you. So it's not just about the couple that you're working with. Understand their tribe and all the people that represent team bride, team groom, or team whatever. Make sure that you have a good understanding of how to properly say their names. Pronunciations is something that people expect you to know, especially when you get into the higher levels of offering entertainment for wedding couples. My tip, understand pronunciations, make sure that you understand how to properly say it, and take your time breaking out the words, the syllables even, if there are any names that are even remotely challenging to say. Number 2, avoid all descriptives, especially if you're like an older DJ. Make sure that you are not saying things like sweetie or honey if you're interacting with a bride, especially on a microphone. Make sure that you leave that kind of conversation or candor out of the things that you are saying. It is okay to call someone bride, but it really connects when you say their name. So the more you can personalize the name, the more authentic and organic it will feel. One thing, avoid the descriptives, especially if you're older. If you're older, it may make you almost sound or feel even older than you are. So please cut it out. It's amazing that I've seen many DJs still to this day use these kind of descriptives when communicating, interacting with, or talking on a microphone, and it almost is cringeworthy. So if you find yourself using descriptives when you're interacting with any couple or any person at a celebration, cut it out. Number 3, understanding the family dynamic. Now, this is something that is super important, and it really has to take place in the planning stages, especially if you're meeting with your couples a number of times before you get to the celebration, their wedding celebration. Understanding who the parents are, understanding what they even do for a living, understanding if they're married or separated or something else, and understanding the framework at a very high level is very, very important. If parents are separated or divorced or whatever, make sure you find out if they are conversational, if they are cool, if they can be around one another, or is the tension just super unpleasant and they don't have a healthy relationship. These are things that will help you, especially if you are forced to put people into kind of like intimate situations. Understanding this family dynamic will give you some kind of things to think about, maybe in the way that you introduce things or the way that you maybe play things, or maybe during the celebration in and of itself. One thing that I always try to do is, whether parents are together or not, is I try to understand the wedding song. So I have a song that I can play during the overall celebration and either incorporate into the mix if they are married, or a song that I will clearly avoid should they not be married for whatever reason. Understanding the family dynamic is an important part of kind of the chemistry of the room. And you as a DJ have the ability of influencing this celebration in a lot of different ways. The more that you understand, the more that you can kind of incorporate into the mix or leave out of the mix, the better it will look on you especially when the celebration is over. The next tip is about Instagram and social media. If you're working with a couple that uses the platform Instagram, try to link up with them way before the celebration date. So follow them on Instagram and ask that they follow you back. I don't want you to do this in a creepy or stalker kind of way. I think silently observing someone's content, looking at the stories and the content that they post on their profile, will give you the opportunity to just get to know them a little bit more. Silently observing the content, watching what they do, supporting anything that you can is a great way to get to know someone if they use the platform. If you want to take this kind of piece of advice to the next level, when you're in the final stages of planning, ask for some of their VIP wedding party Instagram handles as well. That is a great way for you to obtain information and contacts to this couple in the event that you share content that you create after the celebration, whether it be photos, vlog information, or whatever. You have people that you can post or tag to help you build your business. It all starts with planning, getting to know your couples, and engaging with them on social media. Social media is kind of like the wild, wild west, but if you know how to do this and you do it properly, it can help you from a planning perspective in a tremendous way. The last piece of advice I would give you is that if you're using a wedding form or a wedding planning kind of system, and you should be, make sure that you revisit the system every year and make sure that it's appropriate for the times. If you are using designations or pronouns that are slated male or female, it may be a great time for you to consider making them gender neutral so that you are not isolating or making anyone feel uncomfortable. Using the word couple as opposed to bride or groom is a great thing to consider. Same with the wedding party as opposed to bridal party. A lot of couples have a lot of different people that they're connected to, and everyone has their own thing going on, whatever. If you are understanding and compassionate and you're able to show this in your planning details, couples have maids of honor and men of honor and matrons of honor and best men and best woman and best whatever. Take the he and she kind of pronouns out of the mix and make sure that your planning documentation supports all communities and is gender neutral. And while I'm on this topic, make sure that your website reflects the same. It pains me to see people talk on social media about bridal shows when technically they should be referred to as wedding shows, so they are inclusive of all communities. This is one thing that I've seen many, many people do that essentially offended couples, causing them to move a different direction when selecting the people to be part of the entertainment for their celebration. At SCE, we support a lot of couples in a lot of different places, and we support wedding equality. I think that this is one thing that I see a lot of people still missing the mark on, and it's allowed us at SCE to earn business and to attract couples that maybe felt almost isolated or neglected when they were doing their homework, selecting the vendors to be part of their celebration. Making things inclusive for all is really the message here. And whether it be your planning forms, your website, or your marketing collateral, it's super important from a planning perspective to consider all couples. My name is Jason Jani, and I hope you gained something from these 5 fresh tips that I've shared with you regarding wedding planning. I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to comment on any one of the things that I've mentioned to you, feel free to drop down below and leave a comment at any time, and I'll do my best to respond to you. And of course, support the page that you're viewing this video on. And while you're at it, smash the thumbs up. A lot of things to do. But my name is Jason Jani. Thanks for checking out this video. Be on the lookout for more content dripping right here really, really soon. Take care.
I'm telling you, this is like what we have when we have like a baseball. I'm gonna do baseball metaphor. I don't care. But when you get the third hitter that just hits a home run, and then you got the 4th hitter coming up, and he's gonna hit another home run. I mean, it's just like insane. Jason, absolutely love you, man. Thank you very much for that. Jason Jani and wedding tips. So many different things in there that were just pure gold. And John, you and I hit, we're talking as we we're listening, that last one, I think it was the last one. It was the last one because we started talking, so maybe it wasn't, but the whole gender neutral, I will say it's a very difficult thing to do, but I think it is so important. Let's just take the obvious one, because you don't want bad PR. Like the last thing you want to do is have bad PR because you assume something that you shouldn't have. In any case, either direction, I don't care what it is. And it can make you look so much better if you can just, understand what you're dealing with and the area that you have, whether you want clientele or not, you don't want bad PR.
And I think, a second side, even without that, is, we're not here to hurt people's feelings. We don't want to make people feel bad. And it's the intentional things when something, and it's like, oh, I didn't even think about that. And that's really why we need to start thinking, having that in our thought process, because we look back at it and it just makes, it would make you to do something that hurt. Yeah, just really not a good thing. Another area that Jason mentions is Instagram. He talks about that. He has a lot of videos talking about Instagram and using different social media platforms. That's an area where there's so much possibility, and a lot of people have jumped in and have been so active into that Instagram world. I haven't used it at that level that Jason and others have used it and such. And as he's talking about, connecting with the wedding party and movers and shakers and different people of the wedding in that day and such, it's like, man, that's another level for surely.
Absolutely. And I will say this, if you're not pushing Instagram, that is something you definitely should be. Just because I've noticed more and more couples, their Facebook might be there, but their Instagram definitely is. And that's where you're getting it. And I've noticed a lot of photographers are really going to, doing their sneak peeks and their stuff afterwards. And it's all on Instagram. Like they might have it on Facebook too, but it's definitely on Instagram. And those tags are so much more valuable, it feels like, anymore.
No, for sure. Yeah, that's become a thing. And it's crossed over. Some of that content and concepts have crossed over back into Facebook. It's interesting how, since Facebook owns half the world, how they bring things back and forth. So thank you guys for being with tonight, watching tonight's show. We've got one more presentation with Jim Cerone coming up next. Tonight's show and each one of the virtual training shows, and even really all of our shows during the week, are brought to you by the sponsors. The list of sponsors, you can find those. They're right below us. JMOD's Lighting's is up right below us right now. But there's a lot of DJ Event Planner and Electro Voice and Promo Only, NLFX Pro, just Odyssey Cases, ProX. I think there's just a lot of different companies out there that are supporting us and helping us bring education and content to you guys. Another aspect of that is our DJNTV Insiders, which is out at DJNTVtraining.com. It's kind of a little group of people who have really kind of felt that passion and want to help give back to the industry. And some are like, I can't do videos, I'm not that person, but we believe in what you're doing and bringing that content, and they chip in a couple of bucks each month to help do these things. This really has become a part-time thing for myself and a volunteer thing for a lot of other people. But even with that, it costs money to do. So we thank our insiders for their support, both financial and emotional support, which is huge. That's at times been bigger than financial support. And of course, our sponsors who have been there and helped us along the way. So next, Jim Cerone is the perfect host. He had a show on DJNTV for about a year and a half. He was on there for, I don't remember how many, maybe it was, he had a number of episodes he wanted to do, and he ended up going more, but he had a kind of a fun little show on Sundays, which you guys can go back and check out on our YouTube channel. Jim Cerone has been a speaker around with his different perfect host. He was 1 and 2, and he's had a few different versions of that. And tonight he's going to be talking on the wedding side of a little bit. And one of the cool things about Jim Cerone, when he is speaking and such, or he's traveling, he's really known for being kind of the hand sanitizer guy. And of course, when he was at Mobile Beat the last time, he had many a bottle. So before we introduce him,
ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Cerone.
Welcome back to DJNTV Virtual Training. This week talking about wedding prep and planning. I'm Jim Cerone, the perfect host. Perfect host. It's not toast, although I do love delicious warm bread. You've already heard Bill and Jason and Mike and Ron and Jason talk about a lot of topics. I want to focus on week of wedding planning. We're going to break it down into 3 topics: music, people, and stuff. How long are your contracts with your clients? Do they hire you a year and a half in advance? 12 months out? 6 months? There's a lot of planning that goes into those early parts of having a contract with a client. I'm focusing on the week of, and now we're going to talk about music. The week of the wedding should be when you're really doing your last minute preparation. When you have your planning sessions with your clients, I do mine about 3 months out, where we have a detailing session, and then 3 weeks away we finalize and they make their final choices on songs. The week of is the preparation that I do to get ready for their event. And it's not just for that particular event. I do a lot of general music prep. I encourage you to do that weekly. During the pandemic, a lot of people put off downloading music or checking charts. I did it every single week because music is my life. It makes the world go round for me. It's on from the minute I wake up till the minute I go to sleep. Music is such a key part of what we bring to our events, and you need to be informed and ready. That's what this prep is all about. So general music prep to me means every week you check the charts. To me, that starts with Monday morning, and I'm going to encourage you to sign up at a website called allaccess.com. I spent a lot of my career in radio, and there's a guy named Joel Denver who created this site called allaccess.com. It gives you, by signing up, access to the Mediabase charts. Mediabase automatically detects airplay on radio stations. Every song has a unique fingerprint, and Mediabase catalogs those fingerprints, and every time a song is played, it registers on Mediabase. Then they assemble all of that into charts. If you sign up at allaccess.com and ask to get their Monday morning chart recap, when you wake up Monday, there'll be an email in your box that has all of the charts recapped every week. It's a great way to start and remind yourself, oh yeah, I need to check what's number 1 on the top 40 chart this week. What songs have made strong moves up on the top 40 chart? What songs have debuted? Then you can glance down and look at all of the other formats as well, based on your audience and what your crowd is into. I always look all the way down to the bottom to the AAA or adult alternative chart. That for me is a great way to check up what the listeners are checking out that are part of the indie music scene. And that could be everything from Ray LaMontagne, Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. There's a new one out right now by Kings of Leon, Death Cab for Cutie. All of those style will be reflected on the AAA chart. And so that's one of the things I check as well every single week. That's Monday. My general music prep continues on Thursday when the service I subscribe to uploads the latest songs. So I take the time Thursday afternoon to download those, check out both the regular chart versions and the quick mixes to see which ones are a better representation of the song. Then I drag those into playlists so that I'm up to date. But we're not finished. There's one more important general music prep day. Almost every one of my jobs has been in the music business. First in radio, but before that, I worked at a record store. Anybody out there remember Musicland? I worked at 2 different Musiclands, one near Chicago and one in Bloomington, Indiana. The great part about working at an actual music store was you got to see what people bought. And on Tuesdays, that's when the truck backed up and dropped off the new shipment. All the new music used to be released on Tuesdays, and I loved cracking open those cardboard boxes and getting my hands on the latest. That's now different. New music is almost all released Friday. And so if you leave for your event Saturday without checking to see what's new, you may have something guests are requesting and you don't have it. So make sure it's part of your routine to check every Friday. I look at the iTunes Store top songs. That's a great way to see what is brand new because those songs almost always pop to the very top of the iTunes top songs. Now, it's not necessarily representative of everything or everybody. Not many people buy songs anymore. but it is a great way to see what new songs have been released and what has popped to the top of the iTunes top songs. So that's a chart I check every Friday, in addition to all of the others I look at. You can check the YouTube top music videos for the United States. I also look at the Spotify top charts. There's a top 50, there's a viral 50, there's a top 200. You can look for the US, you can look around the world. Spotify has all of those charts available. Another one you may forget is Shazam. Why is Shazam important? If somebody takes the time, if they're in a restaurant or a grocery store and they hear a song they like and they don't know what it is and they hold up their phone to check it, Shazam has a chart of what those songs are that everyone's checking. That's a really great way to keep your finger on the pulse of songs people are excited about. Excited enough to use Shazam or SoundHound or one of those other services to check what that song is. It's a great way to really keep your finger on the pulse. You might also look at the top 40 radio station chart in your town. There's a good chance they have a website that lists it. The goal of general music prep to me is to stay up to date on what's new and to take the time to listen to them and see if they might work on your dance floors. Now, I'm already pretty tall, but let me get on my soapbox for a second. If you're a DJ, you should be buying music, period. Real DJs own a music library. Streaming is the future. It's so wonderful. All of our clients stream. That's great. You are a professional, and you should own every single song. You should not rely on a hotspot or weak Wi-Fi for the song to buffer in the middle of somebody's first dance. Music is our only ongoing expense. Once we've purchased our equipment, that's the only other thing that we need to purchase. Buy your music legally. Thanks. Whoa! If you have a drink handy, let's take a quick break and have a sip. Your general music prep is done. You have an event Saturday, now it's time to focus on that client's specific music. Maybe they've given you a Spotify playlist. It's up to you now to research that list, see what you have in your library and what you need to purchase. And once you've purchased them, you're not done. Then you need to preview those songs. Maybe you thought you were buying the long version, but it's the short version. Maybe iTunes labeled it as clean, but it's not as clean as you want. So you need to preview and listen to the songs you've purchased for the client. If it's necessary, you might also need to do some editing. If a song is too long or has a guitar solo in the middle that goes on forever, or it's for the first dance, the father-daughter or the mother-son, if it's a 4.5-minute song and the client has asked you to make it 2 minutes, now you need to edit. I use GarageBand. There's lots of other audio editing software available. Whatever you use, make sure you're familiar enough with it to make the edits clean. If someone is noticing the edits, then you're not doing it right. The edits should be seamless, and that takes talent and skill, and that's something I think our clients overlook. It is something that's really key to creating a smooth edit. Make sure that you know how to edit cleanly. And then open your music software, whatever you use, and set your cue points. Make sure that you have the intro, the first downbeat, maybe the first vocal, the chorus. You should do that prep as well to make sure whatever the client has asked for, you have ready for their specific event. Now that you've purchased and assembled all that music, the next step for me is to make playlists. And depending on whether I'm hired for the ceremony or the ceremony and reception, I make a different number of playlists. If it's the ceremony and reception, then I make 6 playlists. The first one I call A Prelude. Why do I name it that? Because in my list of playlists, A Prelude will come up first, because that's the first playlist I'm going to need. Prelude music is what plays in that half hour or 45 minutes as the guests arrive and find their seats before the ceremony begins. If Aunt Betty and her entourage weren't sure how long it would take them to get to the venue and they walk in 45 minutes early, I don't want them walking into silence. So I usually create a prelude playlist that's 30 to 45 minutes long. Sometimes your client may have input. They may choose every single song. They may give you a style. They may say, we want like Vitamin String Quartet, or like acoustic music, I'm sure that you have a huge library of Vitamin String Quartet, 2 cellos, the piano guys, acoustic guitar guy, Brooklyn Duo, Boyce Avenue. There are tons of an awful lot of prelude music available. And no matter, as Mike Walter posted last week, no matter how many versions of Perfect you have, they'll find one more that you need to purchase and download. The next playlist is for ceremonies. That's the ceremony itself. So the processional, as the VIPs walk in and are seated. That may be grandmothers and mothers. Then maybe there's a different processional song for the bridesmaids and the groomsmen, and then whatever processional the bride will walk into. Then maybe in the middle of the ceremony they do a unity candle or hand fasting or a wine box. Maybe they've chosen a piece of music for you to play during that moment. And then their recessional song. And this is another song you may need to edit. No matter what song they've given you, it's only going to take them 15 or 20 seconds to walk out of the ceremony space. So you want the best part of the song playing. You don't want the quiet intro to be playing as they're being cheered by all of their guests. You want a cue to the chorus or the hook. I prefer to edit that rather than have a cue point, because in the moment when things are very stressful, I don't want to have to load a song and then also go to a cue point. So I just create my own edit that starts at that point. Last weekend it was The Best Is Yet to Come, Michael Bublé. And then you want to be sure whatever song you've edited, you leave enough of a tail that it's time for all of the bridesmaids and groomsmen to recess as well, and then possibly the parents if they're formally released. So whatever song you're using for the recessional, be sure you have enough. The next client playlist I customize and create is for cocktail hour. Every venue is different, every bride and groom are different, and you want to create a different atmosphere for each one. That's not to say that you can't have a template, a list of cocktail songs that you know fit and work, but you can pull from that template based on what kind of a feel the bride and groom want and what kind of a venue the wedding is. If it's at a barn, then you may want more acoustic music. Maybe the bride and groom have requested pop country or traditional country. So you customize a playlist that fits that. Maybe the wedding is at a very elegant downtown venue and everyone's going to be in black tie and gowns. Then maybe Rat Pack would be better. And this is something I discuss with my clients in advance, and then I customize and create their playlist the week of. Cocktail hour probably is longer than an hour. I always make about 90 minutes of cocktail music because sometimes it takes a little bit longer for the staff to move the guests away from the bar and into the ballroom to take their seats. There's a lot of it's always better to have buffer, to have a little extra music. Cocktail hour to me should be up-tempo, happy, familiar songs that span different decades. I think it's important to make both the bride and groom's friends feel welcome, and we'll talk about how important it is to pick songs that they know, and that's why your updating, staying up to date on new music is important, because maybe a brand new song would be a perfect fit for that week's cocktail hour. And their friends are going to look around and go, huh, maybe this wedding's going to be cool, because they've heard a song they know. But then you do the math in your head of how old the bride's parents are and how old then the aunts and uncles and the parents' friends are going to be, and you drop in some songs from their era. And you have to do that mental math where if mom and dad are mid-40s, how old were they when their music tastes were formed? And that's, you know this. Most of us discover music and really get into music in those 8 years of high school and college. So do that math on mom and dad. If they're 45 today in 2021, how old were they when they were in high school and college? Was it Motown? Was it 70s? It's probably now 80s for most of them. So dropping in some up-tempo, fun 80s is a perfect way to make them feel comfortable. Now, don't forget grandparents. There may not be a lot of grandparents there, but if you play a song from their era, they're really going to be impressed and they're going to feel comfortable. Music is built, we feel most comfortable when we hear music we know. Think about a guest at a wedding. They're walking into a place that they probably have never been before. They're wearing clothes from the back of their closet that they probably haven't had on in a while. So they're already kind of uncomfortable. Maybe they know the bride and the groom, but they don't know any of the other 200 guests. How can you make that guest feel comfortable? With music. By playing music they know, familiar, fun, up-tempo music they can stand and hold their drink and sing along to. You're building trust from the minute a guest walks in, and one of the best ways that we can build trust as DJs is by playing a wide variety of familiar up-tempo music that creates comfort. So you've finished your cocktail hour playlist. At the tail end of that playlist, again, let me reference Mike Walter, who is such a music aficionado and such a great DJ. Mike always has what he calls doors open music. And you can have a template, a playlist created for that. What you want is at the tail end of your cocktail hour playlist, and I try to time this so that it hits almost perfectly. You want, when the doors open, if cocktail hour has been in a different space, you want a wow feeling. There's lots of different songs that might fit for that. Again, it's based on the venue that you might be playing at. But pay attention to the doors open song. That should be familiar, it should be up-tempo and fun, and it should have a slightly different feel than the rest of the cocktail hour music. For us here in Indianapolis, there's kind of a break next. So cocktail hour finishes, the guests file into the ballroom, find their seats, and then there are usually some formalities. Often there's the introduction of the wedding party and the bride and the groom, perhaps a welcome and thank you by either the couple or perhaps the host, maybe her parents will take the mic and say a few words, and then sometimes there's a prayer or a blessing. What follows to me is then the next playlist, which is dinner. So when I label on my playlists, I have a prelude, ceremony, cocktails, dinner. And dinner to me is different than 5 or 10 years ago. I think that people took more time to eat. It was a longer period of time for dinner. And so I might play romantic music for the first 20, 30 minutes. Not anymore. People eat much faster, their attention spans are shorter, and I think we need to keep the tempo up. So I might play 5 or 10 minutes, maybe 2 or 3 songs that are romantic and a little slower. But the next set of that dinner music is going to be mid-tempo, heading towards almost up-tempo, a playlist I call Dinner's Almost Over. Dinner music to me is really important. And let me mention cocktail and dinner music. I know there are DJs who think there shouldn't be vocals in cocktail and dinner music. And I'm sorry, I'm going to very politely disagree with you. Vocals are played everywhere. Everywhere I go, I notice the overhead music. So when we're shopping at Target, when we're in a grocery store, when we're at the mall, when we're going shopping, when we're sitting at dinner, I'm noticing the music. You'll hear vocals everywhere you go. So I'm sorry, but instrumental music really is not necessary for cocktails and dinner. You don't want it to be that background. Again, you're building trust. You're showing that you're aware of all the different age groups in the audience and you're playing music for every age group. So they want to hear the songs they know and the versions they know. Sometimes DJs get too clever and play acoustic cover versions of something. People like what they know. So I'm going to urge you to play vocals, play the original regular versions by the regular artists because that's what people know. The key, and this is really important, is to play it at the right volume. Sometimes people think vocals interfere with dinner conversation. Well, yeah, sure it does if you're playing it too loud. The music to me should just swim in the background. You should just be able to recognize what song that is. Cocktail hour, it can be a little bit louder. Dinner is a little bit lower. If you see guests having to lean across the table to talk, the music's too loud. So that's why I never sit. I'm not sitting now. I'm constantly walking around whatever the spaces are, making sure the volume is just right and making sure the guests are really happy. That's part of the perfect host concept, and we'll go over that in another time. Right now, we're talking about dinner music and how important that is. So play something romantic, and again, based on your input from the bride and the groom, maybe for the first 10 or 15 minutes. You might also change the music based on how the courses are served. So if salads come out and then everybody's waiting for the main dish, you might bring the tempo up just a little bit. When the main dish is served, then you might downshift a little bit, play a couple more romantic tunes, and then as guests start to finish, bring the tempo up. I describe it to my clients like a pot boiling on the stove. The end of dinner, dinner's almost over. I have a playlist for that, yes. It should be letting the guests subconsciously know that the party's about to start. By bringing the beats per minute up just a little bit, you're letting them know that they can trust you, that the party's about to get going. The next playlist I create, I just call formals. Basically, it means all of the songs that are going to be used for the formal events. So that's the introduction of the wedding party. If there's a different song, introduction of the couple, the cake cutting song, the first dance, the father-daughter, the mother-son, any other special songs that might be used. And then I always have what I call the big finish. Either the last 1 or 2 songs I'm going to play at the end of the night. All of those go into my formals playlist. I make my playlists in iTunes. It's what I've done for years. It's what I'm comfortable with. Maybe you create crates. Either way, I always try to have a request crate as my last playlist. Those are the songs the bride and groom have given me in advance, and your clients may give you a lot, some may give you a few. Any way they give it to me, I make sure that I create a request playlist. Then, as requests come in that night, I drop them into that request playlist. Sometimes I will also put my own choices into there, songs that I know might fit really well with the couple. It's basically my dance floor playlist. I just call it requests because that puts it at the bottom of my playlist. It's the last playlist I make for each wedding. Last thing to cover about week of music prep is syncing my laptops and loading my iPads. I make sure I always have 2 laptops set up and ready at every event. I don't know if you've ever had a computer fail, but if that happens, I always want another computer up and running. So this is the way that my setup looks. I always have both laptops open. The playlists are duplicated through home sharing in iTunes, which I'm a big fan of iTunes. I know a lot of people aren't, but for me it's a very convenient, easy way to export the playlists I've made on my main laptop, put them into Dropbox, and then import those playlists into the other laptop. They instantly fill with all of the songs, and then anything that I've downloaded from week to week, I use the home sharing feature so that I can put all of that music on the backup laptop as well. The next step is making sure that I have 2 iPads loaded with the playlist and have all the music transferred to those. Sometimes I'll even load a couple of iPods. Yes, I'll do that as well. I really like having backup of all of my music. Take another quick sip. Maybe you have a frosty beverage, or maybe you're drinking your whiskey neat. Our next week of prep topic is people. This is a really important thing. I was a communication major in college, and so communication to me is second nature. But it's something that you really need to focus on. And the week of is the time to really make those last-minute check-ins with everybody. But I encourage you to open the lines of communication months early. If you've been to this venue before, that's terrific. You know who the people are in charge. With COVID, there's been a lot of turnover, so it's good to check in with the venue and find out maybe people have shuffled around. If you're working with a new photographer, a new wedding planner, a videographer you've never met, it's always really beneficial to you to reach out to them in advance. You should open the lines of communication. Now, the week of, I contact venue managers on Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Because a lot of them have Monday off. Hopefully, their bosses give them Monday off. So Tuesday, you want to check in with them. Not Tuesday morning, though, because Tuesday morning, they're going through all of the emails they got all weekend and all of the voicemails. So Tuesday afternoon, 1 or 2 o'clock, to me is a great time, and I will email them first. I usually include a copy of the entertainment agenda, which at that point should be pretty final from the bride and groom. So I include that as a PDF, and I say, let me know if you have any changes or corrections. Then I'll call maybe a half hour later. That way, if they've had a chance to check their email and look at the timeline, they're already prepped with that when I call. Be very respectful. I just wanted to touch base very quickly and be sure that the timeline looked good to you. Or I wanted to confirm the room diagram with you. If you show up to places and you're set in the corner, I'm going to ask you a tough question. Whose fault is that? Is that the venue, the bride, the wedding planner, or is it you for not confirming in advance? There was a place I used to play for years, and I just assumed one week that I would be where I always was. I showed up and I was not. I was in a very, very difficult position in the room. There was no way that I could change. And I had to run miles of XLR cable to get the speakers where they needed to be and hide them behind curtains in the head table because I assumed I would be where I always was. Even though you work venues frequently, it's a great idea week of to check in with them. Wedding planners are something that I like working with, and I get a lot of referrals from wedding planners. You may feel differently, but if you open the lines of communication, and again, earlier in the process is great, but definitely the week of, on Tuesday of that week, it's really great to introduce yourself if you've not worked with them before, and to provide your entertainment agenda. What does that tell them? That you're professional, that you're prepared, and you can sort of, if they're worried that you're trying to take charge, you can say, this is just the entertainment timeline. I know that your timeline is going to be much more extensive, but I just wanted to double check that this looks right to you. We have the cake cutting at this time, and again, opening the lines of communication. You don't want to have that conversation the day of, 5 minutes before everybody walks in, when everybody's tensions are high. So doing this advanced people check-in is really key. The photographer, the videographer, really important for you to check with them. Why? Well, if they're doing sunset photos and you didn't know that, it's great if the photographer sends you their timeline and you can say, okay, I noticed that you have sunset photos. You're going to do that during dancing. Would you please bring the bride and groom back as soon as possible because the dance floor really suffers when they're gone? Oh, sure, it will only be gone 15 minutes. And you know what that means. Videographers, why is that important? Because they're going to walk up to you the day of, 2 minutes before you're about to open the mic, to say, hey, can I get a line out? Wouldn't it be great if you reached out in advance? What kind of a machine do you have? What sort of recorder? Is it Zoom? Is it RCA? Is it 3.5? Is it quarter? I'm sorry I don't have XLR available, but I can have you adapters for almost every other scenario. So talking to all of those people in advance is great. That's section one, the vendors. The next very important group of people you want to check in with is the players. That's who I call anybody who's involved in the entertainment agenda. The parents, if they're being introduced, if they're making a speech, the people giving toasts, whether that's the best man or the maid of honor or Uncle John, it's really important for you to reach out. It helps so much with their fears. They're going into this weekend with a lot of unknowns. And this is something I learned from Randy Bartlett. Okay, Randy, yes, I mentioned you, okay? Enough already. Would you stop calling and texting? Randy Bartlett told me the importance of reaching out and calling the parents. Even if the parents aren't involved a whole lot in the activities of that day, they're obviously very important people. And if you take the time to make a quick 5 or 10 minute phone call the week of the wedding, again on Tuesday before their week gets too crazy, I think it's a great way to introduce yourself, see if they have any questions, see if there are any surprises planned. That's something Randy really talks about. But the main thing you're doing is giving away their fears. You're letting them know they're dealing with a professional, somebody who is very prepared. When you say, I have your speech at 6:10, I'll come to you 5 minutes beforehand. I'll bring you a wireless handheld microphone. Now, all of those questions that were flying around in their head, you've taken care of. It just makes them much more comfortable. And you'd be surprised how many people will walk up to you at the wedding and the mother or the bride will grab you on the arm and say, it meant so much for you to call. I really appreciate you doing that. It doesn't take much time at all. It's good to get everybody's phone numbers in advance. What you might do is text first and then follow with a phone call if they're available. I think texting, the best man and maid of honor people giving toasts, they're much more used to text communication. That's a much more effective way to reach out to them. And just say, I noticed that you're giving a speech. Maybe you talk about who's going to go first. It's even good sometimes to text both the maid of honor and the best man together at the same time in the same message. That way you can say, I'm Taylor and Mix DJ. I'll be there to let you know when your speech is. Here's where you're going to stand. Here's how to hold the mic. And I'll also attach a PDF of toasting tips. Sometimes the maid of honor will probably read it. The best man probably won't. But these are all people. It will really benefit you. The evening will go smoother when you've informed people and taken care of their fears in advance. The last week of people you should check in with is your clients. The bride and the groom, the couple will really appreciate you reaching out one last time, just saying, you guys have any questions? How are you feeling about this week? It really is about making people feel comfortable, making them feel like everything's taken care of. So their worries and their fears are going to mount as the week goes on. But if you call them Tuesday, you can help take care of a lot of that anxiety by just saying, I've just touched base with everyone on your wedding team. All of the questions are answered. Everything is set for Saturday. One more pause for refreshment. The last week of prep topic is stuff. And stuff encompasses a lot. It's your equipment, of course. It's good to make sure your equipment is maintained, it's cleaned. If you played a barn wedding last weekend, you don't want to show up for this very, proper formal event and have your equipment dusty. So prepping your equipment, I load everything and put everything in the same place. I always do it in the same order. That way I know if something's missing. I also try to make sure that I clean and check everything before I load out for that upcoming week's event. So equipment is one of the first things. It's very obvious, right? But if you're missing something, and you know how critical little things are to our job, that means the thumb screw on the mic stand that fell off, or the wheel that's shaking on your rock and roller cart. You need to do week of prep with all of your equipment and just double and triple check to be sure everything is set for this weekend's event. Then I do what I call refill. I actually have a pop-up on my calendar that will alert me to refill once a month. What needs to be refilled? Batteries. So if all of your mics use AAAs, make sure that you have restocked AAAs everywhere that you need them, in your ceremony system, in your briefcase, in your main system. Refill your mints and gum so that you have fresh breath. I have lots of masks, and I make sure that after they're washed, I make sure that I put them back in my briefcase, and I always have more than one mask ready so that if it's really hot and sweaty for the ceremony, I can switch to a fresh mask for the reception itself. Anything you have that needs to be refilled. Yes, I actually have a hairbrush and hairspray, and I make sure that my hairspray is refilled. I don't want to be worrying about my hair during an event. Anything that's refillable, make sure you refill. Last couple things, depending on what you wear, you want to be sure your clothing and your shoes are ready. A gentleman always has a shoe shine kit, and you should check to be sure if you wear tux shoes or formal shoes, or if you wear sneakers, you want to be sure that those are clean too from last weekend's dance floor that left little black scuff marks. So make sure your shoes are set, and make sure whatever you wear, I wear a tux, and so I make sure that I pick it up from the dry cleaner, and there's a lot of pieces to a tux, so I make sure that the pocket square, the studs, the cuff links are all back in, and my pens and my business cards, everything is back in the tux and ready to go. And then that goes in my garment bag, which then goes in the car. The car is the last important thing. It doesn't serve you well if one of your tires is low or if your check engine light comes on. Maintaining your vehicle is also part of your week of prep. Gas is kind of tricky right now, so it would be really good if you got gas Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, so you don't have to worry about it for the weekend. Fill your tank and have that ready. Maintain your vehicle regularly. Make sure you get the oil changed and the tires checked. All of those are part of your week of prep. You can't do the event if you can't get there. That's a recap of the week of prep I do. All the music, people, and stuff that I need for each wedding. I'm Jim Cerone, the perfect host. Thanks for tuning in to DJNTV Virtual Training. I'll see you again soon.
Sorry, one more second. Pause for refreshment.
Oh yeah, I was.
You didn't say the M word, but
no, I was going to say I was expecting, that somebody must have said, one of those words in the background. But it was nice to see that. It took a while, but we did get to see a picture of hand sanitizer. I was disappointed. It's like, come on, I haven't seen hand sanitizer the whole time.
But like we said, in all fairness, he was at his own house, and as far as we know, there was nobody else around. So I could see why he wasn't using hand sanitizer.
Yeah, but thank you, Jim. Thank you, everyone who put together content tonight. Some great stuff there. You guys can spend some time looking at that. Corey, hey, thanks for joining us, Corey, out there on Twitch tonight. So That is awesome. Thank you for being with us. Again, tonight's event was a free event for everyone. You guys can go back and watch it again to take some notes if you missed some parts of it this evening. It's brought to you, of course, by our sponsors, which are listed down in the description of the video. We mentioned some before. A couple more that we want to mention. We've got. We're just talking about Max Design. He does photo booth and he does the Infinity DJ booth. So Danny Max there. Perfect Portals is a company that helps you set up your DJ event planner. So both DJ Event Planner and Perfect Portals are sponsors here. And you're seeing these down below. Like literally right now, the Perfect Portals graphic is up there. The links for these companies are down in the description of the video. Go out there and show them some love. And then iDJ Pool has a system set up where it's with virtual DJ, so you can actually subscribe to it and have a lot of the music available for streaming and downloading that way through iDJ Pool. And then finally, DJ Trivia, who also has DJ Bingo, so you can have a trivia option, but that's territory protected. So if your territory can't do the trivia, you might be able to look at doing bingo through DJ Trivia. DJ Bingo, a lot of people are making a lot of money with that. As the COVID thing was still there, but starting to open up, these trivia and bingo DJs have been able to do that while their dances have been put on hold. So again, thank you to our sponsors for tonight.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well, another night in the books.
I'll tell you, these nights do tend to go really fast.
They do. It's not as fast as the nights when I get to show Megaseg and I get to show everyone the crazy mixing skills I have whilst playing that software. But it's close to that. Thank you guys for being with us. Next, in 3 minutes, holy cats, Dan, we're going to get out of here. Howie, go to DJNTV.com/chill to go to the chill room tonight. Howie's got some guests, and they're going to be kind of, I saw that earlier he's got Jimmy and Eric, and he had a whole crew who's coming in tonight. They're going to be recording for the first 20 minutes or so, and then the room is open to kind of talk shop. So go in there, keep your camera off. You can watch, you can listen, and kind of giggle along as the guys are chatting back and forth, and then join the conversation once they shut the recording off, and have yourself a wonderful evening in the chill room.
A great group of guys right there, and ladies, because
yes.
There's a couple ladies who do tend to join in.
Yep,
they're not on the speaker panel tonight, but they
come on and hang out in that chill room, and it's really just a real family type of a situation that you guys can go check that out. Tomorrow night, Tuesday night with Ben Stowe, we are off tomorrow night. So the next show we have will be back in the chill room tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern. Jay and Brian will be coming in and doing their regular Tuesday night show, their kind of music chat. And then MJ will be back on Wednesday, I believe. I think he was doing something Wednesday. So it's a little bit later week this week because of tonight being a big night for us. So I think, Dan, we need to get wrapped up because Howie's coming up next.
Or we could just keep talking and see if Howie ever really cares.
Yeah, then we'll get a message. Are you guys done yet? You guys should be done by now.
Yeah. Well, I guess on that note, we probably should end. I do want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their night to come and join us. Obviously, we want to thank the speakers and just the tremendous job that they did. So many people, kudos to them for tuning in. And so special thanks to Bill Hermann, Jason Rubio, Mike Lenstra, Ron Ruth, Jason Jani, and of course, Jim Cerone. Awesome content. And remember, you guys can check it out. It's still going to be in the replay, DJNTV.com/virtual expo. Tell your friends about it. Have them check out the video. Make everybody a little bit better. So on that note, thank you. Have a wonderful night. See you next time.
Good night, everybody.